I'm going to go over some recent price action with Luna, as well as the greater market. And I'm going to talk about some recent tweet activity. There was a big market crash that just happened yesterday, actually. So we can talk about how Luna performed and even more importantly, how the UST peg performed. And then we'll go over some interesting new developments and upcoming projects. So today is September 8th. And yesterday we had a pretty big move in the market where we opened that day around 35. People were not 35, sorry. We opened the day around lower 30s. And there was an event with Bitcoin coming up. Bitcoin and El Salvador had an announcement. The president was announcing that they're going to accept Bitcoin as legal tender, first country to ever do it, and to make it happen, they were buying Bitcoin that day or the previous day, and it was a big event, and some government bodies were probably pissed off about it. And then there was a situation that happened, a very big 4-hour candle that took Bitcoin from 52,000 all the way down to the high 42,000s. And this is interesting because we've been watching Bitcoin, and there's a few people in my Telegram group who I consider to be TA experts. And there's some Twitter people too who I think are very interesting. And there was sort of a consensus actually that once Bitcoin hit the 52, 53 area, that we were supposed to see a pullback to the $42,000 area. Now, I don't think anyone expected it to happen immediately within 4 hours. That's kind of crazy. But I think a lot of people were expecting this to happen. So the question is, what happens next with Bitcoin, and how does that impact the other altcoins? So in general, when Bitcoin dumps, altcoins dump more. You can look at this example in May where ultimately Bitcoin was kind of trading in a range. Like it was always catching bottoms in the low 30s, upper 28,000s. But every time it visited this area, the corresponding altcoins were making lower lows. So when Bitcoin first went down here, altcoins all went down. Bitcoin recovered, altcoins recovered. And then Bitcoin tried to go down again, and altcoins went much further down. And then Bitcoin recovered, and then alts didn't recover as much. And then when Bitcoin started going down again, alts went even more down. You can think about it as like people moving alt money into Bitcoin. So altcoins explode in value. Bitcoin kind of lags behind. It's a little slower. As the market corrects itself, a lot of that money that flew into those alts will then flow into Bitcoin, which gives Bitcoin kind of a better floor, but it makes those altcoins bleed a lot. So you can imagine that if Bitcoin is going to see another correction, then altcoins are going to correct even more. And when Bitcoin comes down to retest these levels, then you can expect altcoins like Luna to retest even further below. So if Luna went down to 23 this cycle, or this correction, if Bitcoin comes back to retest that $42,000 level, what's Luna going to do? Luna might go down even further. I know a lot of people who are looking at something in the upper teens as a good entry zone for Luna. Now, seeing as it was at 36,000 a couple of weeks ago, it really feels like 17 is a stretch. But you gotta remember, we went from 36 to 22 in the matter of a few hours. So just like any other altcoin, Luna is quite volatile. But unlike any other altcoin, Luna kind of does some interesting things where, like the last cycle, the last big bear market dip, Luna got hit the hardest on the way down. If you remember this, it went from like $15 all the way down to $3.90. And that was that was the lowest it ever went. All the other altcoins, they went down. They didn't go down as much, so they went down, went up a little bit, went down further, went up a little bit, went down further. And by the time that Bitcoin was ready for its next push up, all those altcoins were down here. However, because Luna got hit so hard, we actually had an ascending kind of support line going here. Well, this time Luna did not get hit any harder than any of the other alts. So I anticipate that if Bitcoin continues to correct, or Bitcoin continues to go sideways even, I think there was one chart by Pentosh that he thought Bitcoin was going to go to like 49,000 up here, and then kind of retest these areas to around 43,000. And in this area, a lot of altcoin holders were supposed to freak out. So our altcoins are supposed to bleed a little bit or a lot a bit more. And then from there, this particular person is anticipating a recovery after that further kind of retest. And a lot of people, Novigrats included, are expecting fireworks in October. And what's interesting about Luna is we have a catalyst in October for these fireworks. A lot of altcoins do not have a catalyst in October. Luna has a catalyst, which is called the launch of Columbus 5. So when that launch happens, we're going to go from this many apps to a couple dozen more in the span of a couple months. We're going to have better, our blockchain is going to be faster. We're going to have better cross-chain functionality. Lots and lots of interesting things are going to happen. So if we are entering a zone of short-term consolidation, I think it's not a time to be afraid or upset, or even if you bought high in the upper 30s, it is a time to be excited. It is a time to look for areas to accumulate and make buys in. And then when that time comes, to not get afraid. And of course, I'm just talking to myself here because this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not telling you any investment advice. This is just my plan. So while I'm talking to you, I'm also just thinking out loud and reminding myself what the deal is. So I've got this blue line here. And what I find interesting about this blue line is that it served as this cycle's support and resistance for about the past year. So when you see a line like that, you want to pay attention. So starting all the way back in early November is when I started drawing this line. And we see Luna followed this on an upward trajectory. And then in January, it went hyperparabolic. And then it had to go, charts don't work like this. So when something goes parabolic, even though the entire market was mooning at the time, Luna was actually just going sideways. This whole area right here was alt season. This area where Luna was going crazy, this was when Bitcoin was going crazy. So Luna was going crazy as Bitcoin was going crazy. And then when alt season happened, Luna went completely flat. There's, the chart says this is crazy. The other reason is a lot of investors were dumping in this range. And you could consider it a healthy consolidation, but then when Bitcoin did its pullback, Luna was not ready for being so leveraged. So there was an anchor liquidation event. Luna lost a ton of value to its price. And the shock was so hard that we fell below this support, but we quickly tried to get above it. And then we fell into a sideways range here. And then we tried to go above it one time and got a clean rejection. And that was the final consolidation. And then Bitcoin started taking off. Luna took off. Luna led the market basically in this recovery. So now we are again entering this little sideways zone. And I do think maybe we would have broken out of this sideways zone if it wasn't for the Columbus 5 delay. And if you think about it, Columbus 5 delay happened exactly, I think almost to the day, like when Bitcoin is supposed to crash. So it would have been this interesting thing where there was this bullish news with Luna and the Columbus 5, and then Bitcoin and the whole market was tanking. So in an alternate world, that would have been a very interesting situation, but I consider it a gift because now we have 3 more weeks to accumulate. So my buy zone is anytime, if we get a touch of this blue line, I'm going to buy some. If you saw my tweet, you know I already bought some during that dip around 25. And I am absolutely ready to buy some more. My plan is to swap my Ethereum into Luna when I think there is a market opportunity. So I'll be paying close attention. And if the opportunity to swap never comes, okay, fine, I'm still in Ethereum. But if there is an opportunity to swap, you got to assume that Ethereum won't go down as hard as the other alts. So it'll stay somewhat stable compared to alts that are hyper volatile, like Luna. And then when I think there is a black swan event or some kind of consolidation, or Bitcoin is retesting that 33,000, 32,000 area, and we start to see alts bleed big time, then I will be buying. My dream purchase here is probably $17. Like that's the previous zone of support for Luna in this past kind of resistance area. So I see this as like months of support that Luna probably is not going to go under. If we get that, fantastic, then I will be very, very happy because we're coming down from 36. So 17 is about a 50% discount going into the last leg of the bull market, which I think is what's happening. Having the sense that Luna not only is going to go to 100, but it's going to go far above 100 in this cycle. I'm excited to catch that opportunity. And yeah, that's my plan there. So what else is going on? We see price action. We see, Spectrum, past 7 days. Spectrum, when it launched several months ago, was getting a lot of hate. The team has done nothing but good things since that weird launch where they came out of nowhere. They're taking their time. They're getting their audits done. A lot of their stuff is already audited. It's not totally complete yet, but it's on its way. Total value locked is starting to go up for the platform. I currently am not a holder of any Spectrum tokens, but I do think it's an interesting project, especially for yield farming. So basically what Spectrum is you put in your LPs, like if you're providing liquidity for your anchor mirror pair, what you would do is you would deposit that into Spectrum, and it's like an auto compounding yield aggregator thingy. And you also get Spectrum tokens for doing this on Spectrum. So if you're getting like 80% APR on your anchor LP, if you move that to Spectrum, it'll be like 200% APY. So check that out. It might be interesting. It's still not audited, so be careful if you want to be careful. If not, be a degen. Do you, man. What are we talking about here? Let's look at Luna. Let's look at my Luna-centric Twitter. First of all, I want to say I am super excited. I got my 1,000th follower just 4 hours ago, and I thanked a few people: Ryan Lyon, Cypher, Alpha Seeker, Jimmy, Phoenix Trader. These are people who are always engaging with my stuff. They're also in our private Telegram group, and we're usually sharing alpha and having good conversations, and love those dudes. Shout out to Nicholas Flammel, and Nick Anon. These are some of the OGs in the Lunatics community. And Flammel is, he's out there helping people. He's out there promoting stuff. I get so many retweets from Nick, and whenever I make a tweet and he retweets it, I see the engagement like 10x from what I'd normally be doing. So I appreciate that for sure. I'm going to keep going. I'm really enjoying this. Let's see what else I've been tweeting about recently. So my conjecture about why Luna is such an interesting bet here in this next cycle and after Columbus 5 is because the market cap of our stablecoin UST compared to other stablecoins is still quite tiny. We've only got 3 apps out at the moment. Anchor, Mirror, Pylon. Our market cap is 2.4 billion. And that number will go, it has to go up when more apps launch on Terra. And they're all just waiting for Columbus 5 to launch in order to make it happen. So when that does happen, I see $10 billion market cap in Luna by the end of in a UST by the end of the year. In order to achieve that, we've got to burn a shit ton of Luna. A shit ton of Luna. And if you're a holder of Luna now, while it's $30, while it's $25, while it could go to $20, then looking back when it's $200, $300, you are going to feel like a genius. And I think we have an actual use case for that to happen. There was also a lot of FUD that Do Kwon was addressing, and he has a way of using 1 or 2 words to illustrate some complex things. So if we look at the recent market crash that I talked about, every stablecoin went off its peg, and it went below the value of $1, which for a stablecoin is not good at all, except UST, which stuck at $1. Okay, UST was the worst performing stablecoin during the May crash. TFL put together a series of initiatives to make sure that doesn't happen again, and this is the first real retest of the UST peg, and it performed like a champ. So that is absolutely incredible. And not only that, because UST performed like a champ, when the next dip happens, or if this happens a couple more times, and then the next dip happens, people are going to, they rush into stable coins now, but more and more people are going to trust UST as the stablecoin of choice. It kind of is the better stablecoin to begin with. Fees are cheap. You get 20% interest just for putting it in Anchor while you're waiting for whatever to happen, whatever market situation to play out. It's the best stablecoin. It really is. And people will trust it, and then they'll start coming to it. And then as that happens, we'll notice Luna recovers faster than any other crypto on the market. So whenever there's a market crash, all altcoins go down. Luna's not going to be an exception. The question is, what goes down less than the others, and what rises up faster than the others? People love Bitcoin because it's a hedge against like these market crashes and inflation, and also just because Bitcoin, it goes down the least during market crashes compared to the other altcoins, which are more volatile. However, as people move their crypto positions into UST, that drives the price of UST above $1. Whenever the price of UST is above $1, you're able to purchase Luna and make a profit, because you can purchase your Luna, you can convert it to UST, you can dump that UST onto the exchange where it's gone above $1, and then just by doing that arbitrage, you're making money. And there's whales that are doing this with thousands and millions of dollars, so they're making money during these downturns. And guess what? In order to do it, they need to buy Luna. So there's a floor of Luna that's being built from that cycle that's happening. And if that happens a few more times, people are going to notice that Luna is the one that goes down the least, and Luna is the one that recovers the fastest. So when there is a market crash next time, or a few times after, people will start front running this, and they'll start buying Luna before the ARBs do, before other people do. So I see Luna as kind of like this unique asset that actually has the potential to be a hedge against market tanks, the same way kind of, not to the extent that stable coins are, but there's something to it. There's something to it for sure. So I'm also seeing, bears are starting to rejoice a little bit. They see Bitcoin go down $10,000 per coin in a couple hours. And we start talking about dead cat bounce. We start talking about, the beginning of the bear market. This is it. This is everything. So follow Will Clemente, follow Willy Woo. They're still pretty bullish on chain. Follow Alex Mashinsky. CEO of Celsius, he's still bullish. The general narrative here is this was liquidation hunting. This was some market manipulation. This is people trying to teach El Salvador a lesson. This is a combination of a lot of things, but what it's not is the end of the bull cycle. And I choose to believe that as well. I am not exiting the market yet. I would like to see how the next couple months play out, and I don't want to be on the sidelines for that. So I won't be. And I already talked about my accumulation plan. So let's talk about StarTerra next. StarTerra is the IDO, is the next app that's launching. In one day, you as a lunatic who has either been staking Luna or staking B Luna, you are going to be entitled to free airdrops from StarTerra. So go to app.starterra.io. When this timer runs out, you will be able to claim, I think it's like 25% of your airdrop to begin with, something like that. So check that out, check that out, check that out. StarTerra price has been not doing that great, down 35% in the past 7 days. StarTerra was up over like $8 at some point, chilled in $7 range for a bit, kind of settled in at 6 to 5. And now ahead of this airdrop, people are assuming that there's going to be a lot of people who are dumping the airdrop, so they're trying to sell ahead of that. And one of the things that StarTerra is a launchpad. So you actually need to hold StarTerra tokens in order to be eligible to receive IDO tokens for upcoming launches. You need a minimum of 250 StarTerra tokens. I think the airdrop is for 100 tokens, but you only get half of that tomorrow, and then you get like the other 50% when the app launches, which is after Columbus 5. But you're going to need at least 250 tokens. AirDrop entitles you to 100. There's some multiplier for providing LP where it's like the amount of your LP times a certain thing counts towards your minimums. And people who have 3,000 StarTerras, they're eligible to be in a faction. If you have like less than 3,000 but more than 250, you're able to join a squadron, which is like a team of other smaller players, and then you combined can join one of these factions, and you split the IDO rewards depending on who put in what, which is interesting. So look out for that. And Apollo DAO is an upcoming competitor to Spectrum. They are launching their community farming event. So here basically you are to bring your LP pairs, like Anchor UST, Mirror UST, or whatever stocks you're yield farming with. You put them into Apollo. Apollo will take the yield from that. They will pocket it, basically. They'll put it into their war chest, which eventually can be used for investments, and you get to be a part of the windfall from that by being a staker. But they pocket that. I'm not sure what they convert it to, if they leave it as is or they convert it to UST. I bet they convert it into UST and Luna. But they'll give you Apollo tokens for 25 cents each. So they take that yield, they give you the whatever the equivalent is in Apollo tokens. And at the end of the community farming event, those 50% of those tokens will be released, and then the rest of the 50% will be released monthly over the next year. So that's how that's going to work. And I think it's open to anybody. I'm not sure if you're able to withdraw your money anytime. This is relatively new, so we'll see about that. But that's it for news. Thanks, guys.